So I realized that my value in life is how much I actually can accomplish others. Look at all the lives that my time is touching. And you're right. They're not only investing every single minute wisely, but they are also committed to a better future, not only for themselves.
That to me is an amazing thing, that you have the flexibility to do that. Not
Right.
a lot of people have that in their entire career.
This podcast is brought to you by ISU Corp. Are you having trouble with your software projects? Is there a project that's taking too long or a technology you can't handle? We can help. We are ISU Corp, experts in custom software since 2005. With almost 20 years of experience, we can solve any technical problem from new businesses to satellite software. We've done it all. Let us turn your ideas into reality. Learn more about how we can help by visiting us at www.isucorp.ca. Your solution starts here.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Break Free Podcast, where we're shining the light with amazing leaders that are changing this world for a better place. Hardik, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David. Looking forward to the conversation.
For the audience, can you please tell me your full name, where do you live, and what do you do for a living?
I'm Hardik Bhatt, Hardik, Bhatt, Bhatt. Live in Chicago for 26 years now. And I'm the CEO for a midsize technology firm called SDI Presence, headquartered in Chicago, but serving our customers nationally in the US.
And what do you guys do inside that technology business?
Totally. And I'm happy to answer this. So we have been in business for 28 years now, and our primary core business is managing complicated IT infrastructure and large applications. So your network, your data center, your computers, help desk, all of those we manage, whether it is in your own data center, or it is sitting with a cloud provider like AWS or Microsoft Azure. We also manage and implement some large applications like billing systems or enterprise asset management systems for governments, as well as other investor-owned utilities like those that provide gas, electric, etc. And then we also take our customers through their modernization journey, because technology is a journey. It keeps changing and you have to kind of continue to evolve. So we make sure that we do that for our customers, on behalf of our customers.
That is wonderful, Hardik. You were mentioning that you do have a lot of government contracts.
Yeah, we work with large cities like the city of Chicago here in the US. We work with large states like the state of Georgia or state of California. So yeah, we do work with these large critical infrastructure governments.
Now, as far as digital transformation goes, I know that's a hard path. I have the blessing of having 7 different businesses, and one of them is a custom software consulting firm. And so we build new software for clients. We don't really integrate. We just build from scratch. And that's probably 5% of the market, because most companies now you can go and buy a package and install it. However, the legacy software is hard to sunset something that has been working for 20 years.
Yeah.
Get it into something new. How's that experience for you guys?
So my experience has been, I have been CIO myself on the other side, so as a buyer of technology for government. So I was CIO for the city of Chicago way back in 2006 to 2010 timeframe. And I've also been before that a programmer where I actually built custom applications. And I built applications that were ranging from a few million to $40 million. And the $40 million application took us 4 years to build. And then I was CIO for the state of Illinois, where we implemented an off-the-shelf ERP system. And that too took 4 years, but it kind of costed $300+ million. So
wow.
Regardless of whether it is a custom development or off-the-shelf, software that you can buy and then implement, there is definite effort involved in the custom. Actual development takes a lot of time, and then training users to use it. When you buy it off the shelf and implement, then you have to actually go back and change your processes to fit to what this software does. And that requires a lot of organizational change management. So when I say we spend 300 plus million in implementing a financial services like ERP for the state, most of the time was spent on changing the organization structure and processes to fit to what the off-the-shelf system does for you, right? So to me, both of them are equally difficult if not done right. Both of them have equal kind of possibility of failing, because at the end of the day, it goes back to people and how you're managing people, with the change, and how you're delivering that. So that's where we kind of now have come up with something extremely different, which some of our customers have now started to leverage a lot, is we can custom develop at 75% less time and 40% less cost without using a technical programming language, and you can build it the way you want to build it. So now I can deliver things in weeks or days compared to months or years, and build it to what you need. So, and build it in English, Spanish, Portuguese, the language, and I build it for you.
So that reminds me of the case. Remember the case tools back in the early 2000s? What do you guys are using for your custom app build?
So this is called NSL, Natural Solutioning Language. So there has been a lot of investment that has been gone behind the scene. There are 500,000 microservices that are already built. Multiple hundreds of adapters have been built. So as the compiler or the platform reads this English or Portuguese or Spanish sentences, it knows which microservice to call upon to build the applications automatically. It's kind of AI on steroids to build applications.
That's beautiful. You know, you're probably one of the most technology savvy CEO that I have interviewed in this podcast.
It's the curse or the boon of being a CIO or a programmer and then growing into a CEO role. So I only get to talk technology when I talk to my CIO customers or partners. Otherwise, I am neck deep into our balance sheets and numbers and P&Ls, and it's like that's like 80% of my day.
Tell me, Hardik, how did this happen? It's very little. Is the only way that I've seen that a CIO can turn into a CEO is when they actually go out and they make their own business and they run it. But in the corporate world, it's very hard to transition from CIO to CEO. How did that happen for you?
So I think my journey is kind of what I would attribute to this kind of transition is, I learned to be a programmer. I basically, my degree is bachelor's degrees in computer science. So I started becoming a programmer, and then I immediately kind of found out that while I actually love programming, it was not something that would really, at the end of the day, I feel like, oh, I did a great thing by developing this little program. I always love to speak with customers, interact with people and kind of talk. That kind of said that, Hardik, you need to probably be in business development or sales. So I kind of went into business development and sales and got myself great global experience. I was literally in different parts of the world for 5 straight years when I was at Cisco, and I really enjoyed that. And then, translated that into actual kind of taking a business and growing it within a large company like Amazon. But all while doing that, I kind of stayed connected with Chicago in the civic community, stayed as an angel investor, so kind of really listening to the pitches of the entrepreneurs and kind of investing in newer businesses, and then being a judge for the Chicago Innovation Awards, and then got my MBA. So all of those kind of gave me a well-rounded experience. So when a private equity firm and the founder reached out to me and say, hey, we've got this business, we are kind of driving, you've got government, you've got Cisco, you've got Amazon, you've got all of this, would you join us as number 2? I joined as number 2 in this firm as the president and chief growth officer. So my really job was kind of driving the business and growing the business, and I must have done a good job. So a couple of years into that job, the board basically said, all right, the founder is willing to move up to the executive chairman, and we want you to take over as a CEO. You've been doing a fantastic job. So that's how kind of I moved from, I've been kind of buyer and seller for a long time. 20 years of my career, I have been CIO, I'm a buyer, I'm a seller on the other side. So I've kind of seen both sides, and that kind of led me to kind of this position.
That's amazing. You know, the people that are technologists that become professional salespersons are the ones with the most success, and you're a clear example of that. Um, that's the blessing that I had to in my life, right? I was in love with computer science. I was doing architectural work, even 5 years into my main business, which was a mistake, by the way, because my mentors told me you have to let go and hire better people than you, and you got to focus on marketing and sales and become a real CEO. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do P&L, and I didn't want to go and do conference and shows and so it took me a long time to figure out that if I wanted to be successful, I really had to let go. It was very hard for me.
Yeah. You sound like our founder and executive chairman right now. He founded the business 28 years ago, ran the business for 27 years, and he's now basically saying that, you know what, where the business is right now, I think you're the right person, because I would rather be outside selling, talking to the customers and helping you grow the business than me running the business myself. So it's kind of, a certain level of the business also requires a lot of discipline within the team. Team needs to be changed, and that requires making tough decisions. So all of those, I mean, I'm fortunate to have that opportunity.
How long have you been at SDI?
I'm sorry?
How long
Three,
have you been?
3 years.
How many?
3 years.
Wow. So within 3 years, they made you CEO. That's incredible.
They made me CEO last year, so within 2 years they made me the CEO.
That's amazing.
But again, I mean, here's the thing, right? As I worked for governments before, I'll tell you, my first job in the US was working for the Chicago Police Department as a programmer, and we built the Chicago Police Department's record management system, the system basically that the cops use for when they're arresting somebody and taking them to the lockup and all those things. Then capturing the incident and then capturing all the evidence and tracking the evidence. And we built that system. Like, I coded that system myself. So when doing that, we actually used to do ride-alongs with the cops. So they will put us in the backseat of the police cars, and they would kind of drive around. And if there is an arrest that they're doing, we observe it. Like, I've driven with police officers in some of the dangerous neighborhoods of Chicago.
That must have been a tough job. Like, you experienced how police actually got engaged.
Exactly. And then we'll walk through. They'll obviously bring another squad car to take the arrestee to the lockup. We'll follow them. Then we'll follow the whole lockup procedure, because that would help us making sure that we observe what they're doing so we can build it. That was a custom built system. But that also exposed me to the other side of the city of Chicago. I mean, you see the great downtown Chicago and the lakefront and, the affluent neighborhoods. But then there is also the other side of Chicago, which is stricken with poverty. If there's crime, there is lack of education, lack of opportunity. So I always have been focused I'm definitely focused on building the business, but I'm also a lot more focused on how can I, while I build the business, can also affect positively these generational issues that a city like Chicago faces, right? So how can we create, if you think about crime, poverty, all those things, it's lack of opportunities, economic opportunities. If we can start focusing on creating economic opportunities, and those economic opportunity creation, that's not just the government's responsibility. Businesses have to play a role in that as well. So part of SDI, what attracts me about the company is we focus a lot more is how can we, as byproduct of the business that we do, create opportunities for the kind of neighborhoods in Chicago, South and the West Side especially. So we partner with city colleges which are based in those areas and take the students from those city colleges onto our projects as apprentices, interns, mentor them on the job, create opportunities for them. We are moving our call center, our apprenticeship center in the south side of Chicago, create even more opportunities out there. We work with smaller, diverse suppliers to create capacity building for them. So those are kind of things that, yes, out of my 2 eyes I have to keep my eyes on profits, but 1.5 eyes can stay on profit. The other half eye can stay on, creating these opportunities. So that to me is very close to me. So I felt like the synergy that I and SDI have with each other really is great.
Hardik, when you find your best career is when there is a balance between profitability and humankind,
Absolutely.
consciousness to provide an opportunity to create a better world around you. That's why you're in this podcast, Hardik.
Totally.
We have millions and millions of people that we could interview, but we only, I'm a man of faith, as much as the Bible there. Uh, we always try to grab the people that have this heart of giving back, because once you have a certain level of wealth, once you have some kind of certainty of income,
Hmm.
everything else becomes meaningless.
Yeah.
Unless you get in love with money, which it happened to me. I got in love with money, and then I'm like, I just wanted to make more money so to show people that I could do it, which was very stupid because nobody cared anyway. It was just my stupid ego, right? But once I actually, the Lord rescued me from hell and I actually got back into my faith, I realized that I'm here to make an income, but I'm also here to make this world a better place. I'm also here to shine the light and to provide for the people that haven't had the opportunities that I had as an immigrant, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, to me, that's the best thing about my job. What I love most about is, yes, I do have to, I'm answerable to the private equity firm and the founder, and we have to obviously be profitable, and we have to go out and acquire firms to grow. So we are going to continue to grow. But I can, while doing all of those things, I can also kind of give back. I can be part of that. And that's probably what the current mayor of Chicago loves about our firm. That's what I hear great things about large corporations, because we are creating an opportunity for them to be part of giving back easily through us, through the programs that we have put together. So it's just a good win-win-win for the community, for the corporations, and for SDI.
Yeah, I love the free markets, and I truly believe in enterprise. If you look at the impact that you guys do versus an organization that is trying to do good things for society, but they don't have this entrepreneurial mindset. The problem with that is that if you don't have the profitability in the center of your eyes, you won't create the revenue required to help the people.
That is
Or you
true.
won't teach them how to get themselves out of poverty. If you're always giving the fish, people will always be hungry. But if you teach them how to fish, then you change a generation, right? So that's why when I see big companies like yours giving back in a way that has to be profitable, because you are putting your hard-earned money into that social effort, then everything is gonna get better, right?
Yeah. We hosted a customer last week at our Southside Apprenticeship Center, and we had 6 apprentices there. 4 of them had graduated from a recent cohort. 2 of them are still in the next cohort, and they talked with the customer. And some of them were formerly truck drivers, delivery drivers, early childhood caregivers, and they are in their mid 20s to mid 30s. And each of them are now looking for longer, sustainable, growth-focused careers, and they opted for IT. And each of them, the way they spoke of the opportunity, and it's not easy to get into this program. We call it exchange. You have to pass a tough test, and then you have to go through a 6 weeks of pre-training with 3 tests during the training. Then you are placed onto a project. We hire them full-time, place them on a project, mentor them, and then let the customer, if they like them, acquire them and insource them, become part of their workforce, so we can bring other sets of people there. And just hearing them and the joy that they derive from kind of learning IT, and now seeing kind of a future which is not just a stagnated future with fixed money, but IT gives you an opportunity to really, it's the amount of effort that you put in, the outcome that you derive, right? If people start learning Gen AI today, there's just so many real Gen AI opportunities out there in the engineering side of the things. So those are kind of things that they started seeing, and the light that I see in their eyes, it's amazing. It's amazing.
That's beautiful. And it makes your day worth it too, right?
Absolutely, totally.
Hardik, what has been the hardest problem that you ever encountered in your career, and how did you solve it?
I mean, there have been many tough problems, but I mean, I mean, there was an existential situation way back in the late 90s. So I came here as a first generation immigrant to the US from India. And there are multiple ways you can come in. The route that I took was getting a work visa, H-1B. And then I came here and I then switched my job. I joined a large corporation. They sponsored my H-1B. And this was the second year I was in the country. And then so they were processing my visa. I was allowed to go back to my country. So I went back with my wife. And 3 weeks later, I come back and I go in to see my hiring manager in the new company. And the manager tells me that, Hardik, nice to meet you. But frankly, we have a hiring freeze now. So we cannot really hire you.
Wow.
So I was in a position where, and he said, if you find a project for yourself, you're billable instantly, like first day, then we can hire you. So my choice was to go find a project. Literally, it was Friday noon lunch, and Monday was my joining date. And he said, I cannot hire you until if you don't find a project by 5 p.m. Friday. So it was pretty much find a project or pack the bags and go back to India. Done. I was fortunate at that time to kind of I drove back to the project I was working on before going to India for 3 weeks. I spoke with the project manager, and fortunately, another colleague at that time was taking a 2 weeks break to go to London for his kind of whatever summer break. And the project manager said, I think this guy's going out for 2 weeks. I can get you on the project for 2 weeks, and then we can figure out what happens later. I went immediately back to my hiring manager and said, hey, I got a project. 2 weeks. He goes, that's fine. 2 weeks is fine. We'll figure out things later. Let's finish your processing. So I was like this close to getting deported back, not deported, but basically pack bags and go to India because I don't have a job in the US. So career-wise, I would say that came very close to kind of having a completely alternative path of the career, staying in the US versus going back to India. I had my engineering degree, so I would have gone back and still done okay in India, but would not have a kind of the career. It would have been different. So I don't know what it would have been.
Hardik, life is changing fast. I just interviewed a global CIO for a multi-billion-dollar corporation with headquarters in the United States, and this guy was in Bangalore.
Wow.
He said, we no longer need to be in the States to run business. We can stay here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I mean, in terms of my personal career, and it could have been completely different versus if that one afternoon, Friday afternoon,
that was like so close.
so close to that. But I think that to me is a key thing. And other than that, I think pretty much I've tried to remain relevant. So what happens sometimes as a CIO is if you get stuck with being an IT director, managing computers and servers and networks and everything else, you get marginalized, sidelined, and people only remember you when things don't work. So I made a conscious effort every time I became a CIO to kind of remain in the center of the business. So when I was at City of Chicago, I made kind of smart cities my key focus area. First green IT and then smart cities. And how can we bring kind of turn the city government into more smart government with better permitting systems, with better interactions with healthcare, transportation, using technology and everything else. And also same thing I did at the state of Illinois, where we actually focused a lot more on talent development and kind of creating a state, using state as a platform for smaller municipalities to kind of grow using. So I've tried always to remain at the center of the business, relevance to the key executive like the CEO, as opposed to kind of being just, oh, he's an IT director, we'll remember him when I need a new computer.
Yeah. I have another podcast called Leaders in Tech, and you are just as qualified to be there as you are here as a CEO. Incredible. Congratulations for that.
I think, to me, as a CEO, if you understand technology, it's just a humongous benefit, huge benefit. I think I interacted with CEOs who basically don't and they haven't grown up in technology, so for them it's like someone else has to worry about. But if you understand technology, it just changes how you can really bring efficiency within your organization
Yeah.
in the right way, if applied the right way. I mean, I still, as I said, 80% of my time as a CEO goes into our quarterly business reviews and monthly business reviews and getting ready for the board meetings and presenting to the board. And we just had a board meeting last week where we looked at, our net profit, like margins are really good this year and this quarter. And like now we are thinking about how can we double down and increase margins, both top line and bottom line. So I'm constantly thinking about that, how to grow our top line business and how to manage the bottom line more efficiently. But technology is like my first love.
Yeah, I hear you. It's the same with me. Like I went, my path is interesting because I was a technologist for most of my life, and then I decided to become a real CEO, and that worked. But part of my job was to work myself out of that job, and it took me 4 years to completely remove myself from the business through the power of delegation and servant leadership.
Yeah.
And I accomplished that. And then back in 2020, I said, well, I made it. Now what do I do with my time? And that's when I had the idea of the podcasting.
No, it's really useful. I mean, I've read so many biographies. My biographies inspire me. So when I read Warren Buffett, or when I read the journey of Jeff Bezos, or when I read the journey of Elon Musk, or Aaron Mulally, who kind of transformed GE and then Boeing, coming from Boeing, going to GM, not sorry, GE. It's kind of just amazing how these leaders, a few things that come out in common, right? One is somehow they try to figure out somehow we feel like they've got more than 24 hours in their days compared to the average people. But then what I realize is that they really use every minute wisely. They prioritize what they want to do. They're never sitting idle. Even when sitting idle, they're thinking about, next plan that they have. So they're constantly kind of focused and thinking and working. So that's why seemingly they have more time than average people, because they're really using each and every. And I think the second thing I learned is they kind of just they plunge into an opportunity and kind of create opportunities out of that single instance. I was just talking, we had a call, a founder, myself, my chief of staff, and one of the business unit leaders, and we were discussing a certain opportunity that has come to us. And I was like, this is actually a history making opportunity if we can double down on this one. And to me, those are the things that really inspire me. Something big that things don't look big until you kind of double down, dive deep, and figure out how can you make that small thing into a much bigger thing. And that's what I've seen all of these guys, and they've all worked very hard, beginning of the career, and they never slow down.
Yeah, but like you said, they work intelligently, right? That's why you have people. Yeah, that was always a fascination for me. Like you, I read a ton of books, biographies, people that I admired, and I realized that I was not running my company properly. Back then, I only had one business. Now I run 7 different companies at the same time, because I know how to delegate and how to be a servant leader.
Yeah.
Like, how can I help attitude, not you should do this attitude, right?
Yeah.
And but if you look back, people ask me, like, how can you have? I have 3 podcasts. So I have the business podcast, the technology podcast, and a Christian podcast. And I have all these companies. I have a real estate business too. And they ask me, like, how do you do this? And I tell them, well, it's been 40 years of learning.
Yeah.
And my wish of sitting margaritas for the rest of my life in front of a white beach and a sunny ocean is no longer there, because I had to do that, and I was bored for in 3 weeks. I was bored. So I realized that my value in life is how much I actually can accomplish others. Look at all the lives that my time is touching. And you're right. They are not only investing every single minute wisely, but they are also committed to a better future, not only for themselves. Once you have certain level of income that you know everything is taken care of, your job in life is to provide for the rest of the people.
Absolutely.
Give
Absolutely.
back.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you need to work the most, because then you are in a privileged position because you have all this wisdom that you have acquired through the years and the failures, right?
Absolutely. No, I think that to me is an amazing thing, that you have the flexibility to do that. Not
Right.
a lot of people have that in their entire career.
I know and you have to design your life with a purpose, because if you don't know what you want, somebody else knows what they want. You're gonna help them achieve what they want, which is not a bad idea either, right?
No. I am also very strongly affiliated with non-profit social spiritual organizations. I'm a Hindu by faith, and there's within Hindu multiple kind of faiths within that sub-faiths. One of them is Swami Narayan, and so we have 1,100 centers across the globe. We just built a big Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East, and our largest in the Western Hemisphere in New Jersey. But I manage nationally. I manage the community outreach function of the organization across all of the 116 centers in North America. And so we do a lot of education-focused activities, healthcare focused. Lots of healthcare lectures and health fairs that we organize, blood drives we organize. We also do a lot of environmental stuff, kind of tree planting. We partner with the Nature Conservancy. We partner with the Susan G. Komen Foundation for breast cancer cure and awareness. And then we also do a lot of disaster kind of Katrina, we were there. COVID, we were kind of making sure that people get food, the PPEs and everything else. And for that, we kind of do year-round activities. We just did our annual walkathon in Chicago on Saturday. 1,000+ walkers kind of joined, and we raised funds for our local police department and fire department, and also for these national work that we do. That too, I mean, again, to your point, is using time intelligently, because I'm after my workday, I'm on calls for those kind of things, and that to me is the other side of me, which kind of allows me to make sure that actually relieves a lot of stress that I collect during the day, doing the day jobs. And then every Saturday we have these weekly assemblies, kind of the church choirs and everything else. And I'm a musician. I sing North Indian classical music. I play our harmonium.
Nice.
And kind of that to me is another way I kind of stay engaged, motivated, and it's stress release for me when I do my music with my group.
It's and it's so important. In our faith, the Bible says that there is 2 commandments that are the highest commandments. Actually, Jesus said that if you do these 2 commandments, it's the entire Bible. Imagine, like 66 books summarized in 2 sentences. The first one, he said, love your God with all your might and all your soul and all your spirit. And the second, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Yeah. And that's what you're doing, right? You're going around spreading love, unconditional love. Mm-hmm. And you're right. If you can actually have energy to help somebody else outside of your business context, all your stress goes away, right? And that's why you look like a very happy person.
Yeah, well, a lot of credit goes to my family, my wife too. I mean, she is. I'm blessed, so I cannot.
Yeah, happy wife, happy life for sure.
Happy
right?
wife, happy life.
Hardik, I'm so happy for your time. I know you're a busy executive. It's been almost 40 minutes, so I'm going to ask you one last question before we finish the podcast. If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write on it?
Oh, wow. I mean, you already mentioned the 2 commandments there. That's the best. I mean, if I could put them on the billboard, everyone that would be great. But I think, I would probably say it slightly differently. And I would basically say that in the joy of others lies our own That's one. This is what basically our
It's beautiful.
our guru says. It's like, in the joy of others lies our own, and in the progress of others lies our own. So just kind of go out and help others, and it'll automatically help you be joyful and help with your progress.
Excellent. What a nice advice. If people will know that, we will live in a different world.
Yeah.
This competition and this greed, and I mean, competition is healthy for business, but if you put it on a personal level, all it creates is anger and resentment and envy, right? And these are the cancers of our society.
Totally. And if everyone thinks like that, love God and love thy neighbor, or in the joy of others lies your own, I think most of our societal problems and international problems would probably go away.
Right? It's so simple and yet so hard to accomplish.
Yeah.
Hardik, thank you so much for your time. God bless you, brother. If people like to hire your services, or they like to ask more questions personally, where can they find you?
They can find me. I can send you my email, hbhatt@sdipresence.com, or my personal email, hvbhatt1@gmail.com. More than happy to connect, or I'm sure they can find me on LinkedIn and ping me.
Wonderful. Hardik, God bless. Have a beautiful rest of the week, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.